over exams, I listened to a bunch of like jazz rain cafe combo mixes, but the rain wasn't good enough, so I put my own rain. I found a different rain noise that was like, because I don't like the rain noise that's like. I like the. Yeah.
This is the Mentee Podcast, formerly known as MtP. I'm Scott Hero, and here with me, as always, the Wibbler. How's it going, Wobbles?
It's pretty good, pretty good. I'm done for summer now, so I've got 3 months of just like of 3
Freedom.
months of nothing. Yeah, which is like a blessing and a curse. I feel like I'm gonna try find. I probably should find something to do in that to fill that time. But no, I'm here. It's a bit more gloomy out. Lots of good sun the past couple weeks, but now it's all gone. So I guess we'll have a good harvest or something. Whatever that is an omen for.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know what you mean though about like finding something to do. Like I just took a week off of work, and I had like all these plans of like, oh, I'm gonna work on this project, I'm gonna work on that project, but I definitely didn't get as much done as I would have liked. So, you've got 3 months. That's a good amount of time, but
Yeah, to get something done, surely. Yeah, no, I'm hoping to find a project to do, or probably end up getting a job of some description.
yeah, I remember we talked about that previously.
But on follow up, in this episode we will get past follow up. Hopefully,
Like to
no
think so.
promises.
Yeah.
We start with your bit of about Minecraft here.
Oh, did I put that on there?
Yeah, I think so. Unless that was that follow up from last episode that we didn't touch.
Oh, wait, yeah.
Let me go back.
Yeah, okay. Minecraft 2. I think because I was listening to the previous episode when I was editing, and we were talking about the New Decades episode. And how someone jokingly predicted Minecraft 2 as coming out in the 2020s.
That is true.
And like obviously probably a joke. There's like no need for the game to have a sequel, but it occurred to me that there is now a Minecraft movie.
There is a Minecraft movie, and there are 2 spin-off games as well. Dungeons and Legends.
Yes, but you wouldn't call a spin-off.
No, but we'll get letters.
Those may have also been out at the time that prediction was made.
I think so. Yeah, I just thought I'd mention just so we don't get comments.
I'd like to think that that there could be a sequel to the movie that is titled Minecraft 2.
Minecraft the 2V.
That prediction, the 2V. Hopefully not that.
No, they don't go the Banjo Tooie route.
Yeah, I mean,
but no, yeah. I am yet to watch a Minecraft movie. I've told that I would find it enjoyable experience, but not like it in terms of like cinema, just as something to do.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. Can't comment on it. Just occurred to me that it could make us look smart for predicting.
Actually, this is recorded in lockdown still. We just haven't got through the backlog yet. We're just really on the pulse. just throw out a date of when the Pope's death and funeral would be, and got it in one. And now we're doubling down on that prediction in this episode.
Yeah, you did try to kill Charles, but he's still hanging in there. So
that's true. But no, yeah.
We officially can't say that the podcast is cursed because yeah. I'm assuming too much. Assuming he's alive by the time episode 3 comes out, then you can't say
that's true. We do have.
You can't say that episode 2 took him out.
We do have there is a period of time between us recording and us releasing this
Yeah.
episode that could happen. God forbid.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Of course. You know, if that would be terrible. For the taxpayer. Speaking of the taxpayer, I went off on a small tangent last episode about the railway system in the UK and the first franchise holder section of what's now called Great British Rail. What was or still is South Western Railways has now been nationalised and brought under government control.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it was just British Rail and then it was made great again.
Oh, no, well, it was made. They decided to call it Great British Rail. That's just a holdover from when the last government wanted to have a fancy name for things. But it's just a good, I don't know. There's been an emphasis from British to Great British in the last 10 years.
Is there a regular Britain?
North of France, I guess. I think one of the supposed reasons Great Britain is called Great Britain is they're like, oh, it's the bit of Brittany that's a bit bigger than Brittany. That could also just be a coincidence. I think it's one of those linguistic things where a guy in the 1800s said it and they're like, oh, that's probably right. Probably don't need to check. I think I've heard that at some point. Anyway, there's been a shift to Great British Rail, even though ScotRail have had their own thing for a while and are quite happy with it. But the Scottish are always a bit ahead of the English. It's just kind of how it is. But yeah, that's some news. I think I mentioned it was happening, but now it's happened. And unfortunately for the media coverage, on the first day there was immediately a rail replacement bus service due to railway work, delayed railway repair works. But obviously not in a day. They're not going to fix all of the administrative and whatnot problems. That's just the unfortunate carryover from the last government handling of things. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say for now. Not much has actually happened. It's just fresh off the press news within the recording window of this episode. So I thought it was interesting to note. But maybe something exciting will happen and everyone gets a free train by next episode. So just keep an eye out.
Yes.
And on some other things to wrap up with British politics was the local elections did happen.
How'd that go?
Same. Good for some.
I genuinely don't know. I haven't been keeping up with I don't know if you know this. There's a lot going on over in my country.
So it was.
So it's kind of a whirlwind. Yeah. I don't have the mental bandwidth to keep up with.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Especially, that's the issue is the local elections. Okay, so basically, the major parties in the Lib Dems. I think they turned out alright, to be fair. But the major parties, the Conservatives and the Labour had one of their worst local election performances in since the conception of the parties respectively. Labour lost a bunch of council seats and councils. A council isn't gaining a council doesn't mean anything actually. It just means that all of the sitting members are now of one party or another. It doesn't swing you points in the Commons or whatever. It just means that it's easier to do stuff on the local level, but that devolution of power, etc. But it was worrying because Nigel Farage's Reform UK gained a lot of seats and councils, and I think it's a mix of things. One, it was kind of a protest. People kind of want to put the pressure on the current government to get their act together, which is also why it was surprising that the other minor party, the Greens, suffered, because historically, when the major parties have been messing up, they're the ones that have stepped in as the protest vote, because green environmental policies widely popular. It's or widely popular by people politically motivated to oppose the main parties
in the UK, especially.
Yeah, in the UK, yeah. But that was the thing, is that it now shows that the people who are the most politically motivated, those who go to vote in local elections, which like only like weird people that like read BBC News do. The main group is now Reform voters. Well, I guess now GB News, they're Reform voters. But that's the worrying thing, is that like the politically like motivated part of the electorate have swung wildly right, and there seems to be just like apathy from the left, which is concerning. For those that like things not being horrible.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. Like every major like milestone that Reform has gotten, I've been like, oh well, that's it. I think they've peaked. They've like, I think that's all the stamina they have, and people can realize they're not very good.
Right.
But this is, it keeps happening again, where I keep being proved wrong, and I'm like, okay, well, the main thing that is
this sounds like similar to people's reactions in 2016 though, where it's like at every step of the way people were like, oh well, Trump's not really like a serious candidate, and it's like, oh well, you know, he's peaked, he's not actually going to get the nomination. And then they're like, well, okay, he's the nominee, but there's no way that well, okay.
I didn't want to bring it up this episode because I feel like it was going to massively derail the entire show. But I have just finished watching the other day the documentary Hypernormalization, which explores how Donald Trump was able to get as far as he did. I mean, that's like the end like thesis, but it uses example. It goes back as far as the 70s and explains how slowly over time politicians and the media have constructed kind of a false, simpler world that's easier to like control, and kind of tricked everyone into falling into this. But they've had to like lie and blatantly like tell mistruths about geopolitics. But because people were so willing to believe it, because people kind of will tend towards wanting a simpler life. By the time Trump comes around in 2016, 2014, whenever he, I guess it was early 2010s, he started getting into politics. By the time he came around, it didn't matter what he said, because he used that distrust of the main media, distrust of the government, and then abused the fact that, like, the simple narrative of the world that's been given to your average Joe, to then morph that into whatever he wanted, and had it so that if you had problems with the world, whatever they may be, you could listen to Trump. But because Trump just said so much contradictory stuff, depending on what you heard, he would just confirm your worldview and that he wanted best for you specifically. But
yeah.
on the what did that? But because
you can kind of project onto him.
But the main issue was that because journalists tried to point out the falsehoods, but it didn't work because people didn't trust journalists, and it didn't matter if he was hypocritical. That wasn't the point. And then the other major issue was that the left, instead of retaliating in like the public domain or whatever, resorted to like talking about it on the internet. But because of the way that the internet had been structured, it just was shouting into like a bubble where everyone agreed with. Like, it made echo chambers, and it meant that no real activism was done against Trump.
Yeah, you're not convincing anyone to change their mind, because it was a bit. You're not really talking to the people that disagree with you.
Yeah, exactly. And then he goes, because it's a BBC documentary by Adam Curtis, I believe. It's on YouTube. I did watch it on iPlayer, but it is on YouTube.
I'll have to give it a watch. It's a BBC. You said it's hyper. What did you say it was called?
Hypernormalization.
Hypernormalization.
It's if I command to action, it is fairly graphic. It uses a lot of footage of conflicts of the era, because a lot of it is centered around how Western media and governments portrayed conflict in the Middle East.
Sure.
And which was the main focal point of news for the last not 4,000 years.
Not a light watching, but it'll be in the show notes.
Yeah. It's very good though. But yes, he also goes on. He does talk about how Nigel Farage's Brexit movement got so popular as well, and it's kind of now we've seen what's happening with Trump delayed 8 years in the UK, or what with our right-wing parties, which is just worrying. But the reason I think now, and I am ready to eat my words on this, but the reason I think they might be screwed now is the fact that they actually have to run local government, which is kind of like a thankless job that's really hard, because as I said, they're the ones that actually like do the things. And like within the past few weeks, they won a bunch of seats in Lincolnshire, which is a low-lying farmland in the northeast of the country, and they've already slashed the budget on flood defences in April. What was it they say about April? April sun brings Maytime fun. So
that's it. That's the saying.
I think we're good then.
I'm pretty sure we parodied that in our April episode. It was the version we said in that episode was fake, actually.
Yeah, April doesn't shower. She stinks. Sorry if your name's April. That was not directed.
They're not, sorry.
But anyway, I think this time it's going to be different because they're actually in charge of something broadly important, and people will see that they can't run important things, or they like trip over themselves into doing as adequate or as well as the current party through just like luck, I guess. As in, if people don't notice a big difference, then we're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
So if in underserved areas, they're probably not going to notice a difference, but in maybe better off places, they might fare better. But it was
my one bit of optimism, I guess I'll give you, is that I think the BBC does a pretty good job of highlighting people's policies and things, and like I think still maintains a decent amount of trust from your public.
Yeah, the BBC is broadly I'd say they're doing a pretty good job at being neutral and like trusted, because because everyone has something to complain about.
Yes,
which I think means they're doing a pretty good job of staying as a trusted central body of national journalism.
Yeah, and I'm sure people have their thoughts on like, oh well, that they're biased in this way or that way, but as a source of information, of like raw information, I feel like it's fairly well respected.
Yeah, because they are bound by law to tell the truth.
Yeah, whereas Trump did such a good job of basically convincing his supporters, like, you can't trust the media, like any of the media. You can't trust experts. You can't trust scientists. You can't trust educators. You can't trust the Democrats. You can't trust the Republicans that disagree with me. And it's like at a certain point, it's like, who is a trustworthy source of information? You know, it's like
that did happen in the UK. There was like a growing distrust of experts, which also led to like anti-intellectualism and a bunch of incompetent people being elected for jobs that they shouldn't never have like done. But
let's trust. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there are a few names that do come to mind, but we I guess we'll have to see how it goes. Yeah, it's not the most optimistic, but it's hopefully they do such a terrible job that they get kicked out.
Yeah, that's a possibility, but I guess I'm saying worst case scenario. I'm optimistic that your news media will be like respected a bit more.
Yeah.
I feel like American media was pretty easy to trash, of like, well, it's so slanted and it's so, sensationalized that it's like not a trustworthy source, so we'll just dismiss everything that is ever said. And and for a lot of people that worked, and it was just like, well, okay, I'll just dismiss it. Unless it's coming from directly your mouth, and then at that point, it's like you're playing a very different game.
Yeah. Oh, and there was a by-election, basically like a actual seat in the House of Commons was up for grabs, and Reform did take that by 6 votes.
What is a by-election?
The turnout was it's basically when it is like a smaller scale election between general elections where a seat for the House of Commons is up for grabs. It normally happens if someone resigns or someone can't do their job.
Oh, got you. Yeah. That makes sense.
It's like but Reform won that seat by 6 votes. I think the national turnout was 40%, maybe worse. I think some places it was about 50%. Like the mayoral we had a mayoral election in the west of England to run the West of England Combined Authority, WECA, but no one calls them that. And they won Labour won. Sorry, that's who they is. Labour won with a fairly comfortable majority, but not like an amazing one. But like people put a lot more importance on mayors for reasons. But
yeah.
Anyway, I think it just goes to show that I think out of the most politically disgruntled, Reform have a strong like chokehold. But I think when it's going to get back to serious politics, it should kind of start easing off a bit. Is my prediction. If I had to throw my hat in the ring of predictions that I've heard.
Yeah, I suspect there are a lot of people that, I mean, it's the same here. There's a lot of people that just don't vote in like the smaller elections.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's people who vote every year, every time there's something to vote for, and then there's people who vote like maybe every 2 years, just when like the Congress is being elected, and then there's people who only vote like once every 4 years when it's presidential. Like there's a lot of different,
or those who vote every 8 years when they remember it's the president.
when they feel bad that they missed the previous one.
Yeah.
And had to wait another 4 years. So I think there's different, obviously different like populations of people that fall into those different categories. So it's like it might be that in your case that the Reform voters are very like passionate and voting.
Yeah,
in every election they can get a chance to vote in, whereas you might have a huge majority of conservative or Labor supporters that are just can't be bothered to.
Yeah, and they normally think that they're safe. They normally think, oh, what's the point in voting? Everyone's
just
going to vote safe. And
that's the thing.
Because also the other issue is that with Reform voters, they are, I think, typically people who weren't that politically motivated in the last 15 years, but have become like radicalized. For one reason or another. And that's it. And the other interesting thing is I don't know if it's a decline or just, I don't think it is a decline. I just don't think that many people vote tactically. Mm-hmm. And that does hurt any effort. But people vote believing that the system works in the way they want it to.
Yeah.
Whereas I do vote tactically because I vote in the way that the system is designed to work.
Yeah, and it's like I wish the system was designed differently.
But yeah,
like voting would be nice. But
I normally end up voting in a way that keeps out the people I don't want in power. Which is a bad way for the system to work, but it's the most efficient way that the system has for not terrible things happening.
Sure.
But it's not the most efficient way for getting good outcomes. It's the best way of getting not terrible outcomes.
Yeah.
But maybe there'll be follow. I don't think there's any major political events due in the UK, so I think that's the next one for a while.
Well, as our
unless maybe
as our
Nigel
great
Farage.
as our great British correspondent, always good to get an update.
Oh, I didn't know it was that good.
You're from just okay, Britain.
Yeah, I'm a great reporter from OK Britain. No, unless like Nigel Farage is the one that gets the curse, the podcast curse. Maybe that'll be quite interesting to talk about.
Oh no!
God forbid. Of course, God forbid.
Now you're actually going to start doing it on purpose. I was just giving you a hard time about Charles.
So, we have a quiz, a game.
Yes. Should we finally do this?
Let's finally do this game for... Was it New Year's?
Yeah, so I believe it was probably... Oh, I think I might have had it intended for New Year's last year.
Okay, yeah.
I thought it was even... I thought this idea was even older than that, but it might have been... Yeah, but in any case, we didn't do an episode last year, so... And then it was on the docket for the past 2 episodes and got
2 episodes, but we've never
got pushed.
Come up. Yeah. So quiz game thing. What's the?
Yes, I was intentionally vague. Because of the nature of
the quiz game thing.
Of the quiz game thing. So okay, first off.
Okay.
You can't Google anything. You shouldn't look at anything. I don't know if you have stuff on your desk. Try not to look at information, I guess, around you. Okay. So the challenge here, perhaps that's a better word than quiz game thing.
Okay.
The challenge is, can you, if you start at this year and work your way backwards, can you name one thing that took place in every year? And how far back can you get before you run out? Before you start, I will say, I'd be very curious for Minters to try this at home. Yeah.
So for each year, going starting from this year, an event that took place that also happened in years prior.
No, so for it's 2025. So for 2025, you think what's something that happened this year?
Oh, I see. Evan,
and then go back.
Just the major event that happened.
Because I was thinking, I think the idea stemmed from, at some point I came across a random date. It was 1807 or something, and I was just well, I'm obviously not going to know an event off the top of my head that happened in that year.
So I've got paper and pen here, but this is just for keeping track.
Yes, that would be helpful. So my suggestion for Minters, I'm going to explain a good method for doing this, and so some basic ground rules, and then I'll say pause, and you can pause and try it. Because I'd really like to know how far people get, or what things come to mind. Because so basically, I think the best way to go about it would be to either have pen and paper, or if you can pull up a blank spreadsheet and just go down a row, typing in your answers. If you're doing it by yourself, I would suggest basically just typing them in, going as far as you can go, even guessing if you need to guess on some things, but at a certain point you can then go back and check, because at least from my experience of testing myself on this, inevitably you'll think I think, this movie came out in this year, and then you go to check and you realize you failed several years back and you were just continuing a failed run. But
yeah.
But it's better to be on the safe side of keep going and then check rather than
go until failure.
Go until until
abject failure.
Abject failure, yes, and then go double check and find out that you actually failed way sooner than that. But
okay, this is good. I like. I've already started.
You're
well, no,
processing
I've been writing down some years and scribbling down notes each.
Okay, so a few basic ground rules before you tell me what.
I guess no repeats, because every year that ends in 4, I can just go.
Well, no, this is what exactly what I was gonna say is. So you can't just say leap year. You can.
Oh, I was gonna go for Olympic something World Cup, Olympic something to at least the 1940s.
So you can, actually say, for my rules, you can say the Olympics or an election, but you have to know the like the hosting country or
say
like who won the election.
Yeah, something notable that happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
And for like a person, you can say like the year a person was born or the year a person died, but you can't just say like, oh, the Queen turned 93, the Queen turned 92.
Right.
You know.
Okay.
So yeah, it's got to be a notable thing. And so with that said, this is a good time to pause. Go try this yourself. I would really encourage you to, even if you're listening to this and you can't do it right now, just pause and finish the episode later, because once we go through Wobble's run, it's gonna like be in your memory, and then when you go to do it, you can just cheat off of Wobbles. So
yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that warning done. Welcome back. I hope you made it further than me. I didn't make it very far. Let's see how Wobbles does.
Okay. So let's have a think. So 2025.
Mm-hmm.
I think the death of Pope Francis is probably the most notable, or one of a very high profile notable event. 2024 I wasn't sure what to go for.
Yep. Still thinking on it?
But see, there was one I was thinking, which is like the most interesting fact I could think of, but I've never actually verified it. But so I might just say it as an interesting factoid, but give like an actual answer. But I think I'm fairly certain 2024 was the most democratic year in the modern era. The most elections were held internationally. I'm not certain on that fact, but that's an interesting fact. But if I had to go for a proper fact, I'd go for Labour winning their first majority in 14 years in the House of Commons of the UK. 2023 is a bit harder. I'm trying to think 2023. Events of 2023. So it's kind of, I was very like knuckled down into school at that point. The world has been a bit of a blur the last couple of years. So there's events between 2020 and current year, which all feel like they happened in the same year.
Yeah, it's so much harder than you would think it would be.
2023 is the only one that's stumping me, just because I'm unsure if it happened in 2023 or 2024.
You don't have to.
I guess I'm guessing that the second I utter something wrong, the game's not instantly over.
Yeah, no. So I probably should have said this in the how to play along section, but you definitely have to either write it down or like, in your case, since you're talking, if you can say like, I'm locking it in as my final answer or whatever. Yeah. But like, yeah, because it's far too easy to like fool yourself and just like say a bunch of things and think about a bunch of things, and then you look it up and whichever one was right was like, oh well, that was the one I was gonna go with.
Yeah.
But if you want to talk out loud here, since I'm not like trying to do it right now, so
Yeah. So
In fact, I
2023.
can even if you want me to check yours, I can like live check and just tell you when you failed, so we don't have to keep going.
That's true. That's true. As a Pope Dead, and I think
I can
general election of both.
I can confirm the Pope.
2023. I'm trying to think back to like events in my life now and what I was doing in them. I'm trying to think. 2023. What a year! What happened in that year? So, 2023. So I started university. What happened in that year? That's not a. It was a personally notable event, but that's not the game. See, I'm trying to think because there's a lot of things that happened in the past few years which were 100 anniversaries of something, which I think is a centennial, a centenary. But then it gives me a free one when we go back 100 years. 1923. Oh no. That's. But I think that's kind of gaming it a little too much for the spirit of the game.
I mean, if there, yeah, I see what you're saying, but I think there would have to be like a celebration of the 100th anniversary or something.
Yeah, like a notable commemoration of it,
or like a thing, a thing that happened related to it, and that would be fine. Like
now,
like if it was like a anniversary special or something.
2023. I didn't think 2023 would stump me, so I didn't think I'd get stumped.
Do you
so
think of
quickly.
any movies that came out in 2023?
Oh, there are, oh, that was the one I was thinking of. I was trying to remember when Elon Musk acquired Twitter.
You think that happened in 2023?
I'm trying to remember if that was 2023 or not. Movies of note.
I'm in a weird position where I don't want to help you for the fairness of the game, but I don't want to be silent because
Yeah. For too long. 2023. Could I think of games that came out in 2023? Apparently, I would be able to in a past life. In 2023, I probably could tell you quite a lot about 2023.
All right.
That is crazy. This is.
You would think it would be easy up until like the year you were born.
Well,
and
because
then it
I
would
was
start
like,
getting trickier, you know,
the 2010s, the 2020, around the time I was born through to 2019, I think I'd be good. But and I have something like 2022 was going to be the start of the war in Ukraine. That was my 2022 pledge. But 2023, maybe I'm getting somewhere. Actually, if I think about the Ukraine war, what else was notable in geopolitics that year? So that'd been going on for a year. Oh, when did countries join NATO? Did Sweden join NATO in 2023, or was that pushed to actually happening in 2024? Okay, well, what else happened? Liz Truss was too early. That's 2022. What else? Well, 2023. Films that came out that year. Again, that should be easy, but it's the past few years have just felt like a blur to me. Can I think of anything at all that happened in that year of note?
Shall we skip it and come back?
Yeah, I'll skip it a couple. So 2022, I think.
You said a few things.
I said war in Ukraine, Queen's death. Those are two quite good.
What are you feeling most confident about? Or you feel like you know you're 100% on both of those things, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, because one was February. The war in Ukraine started February 25th, 3rd, something like that.
Oh, you want to go month by month?
Month by month would be crazy. That's hard mode.
I just couldn't think of a single thing that happened 2 years ago at all, and you want me to go month by month.
Super 2 Tuesday, 2022, when the day was 2/2/2/2/2/2. That was notable.
Tuesday.
So there's that. I think I'll lock in war in Ukraine. So it says that's 2021. But if that 2021.
I already wrote in Ukraine because that was the one you said first. Okay, so it's locked. It's locked in. I looked it up. You were right. It was in fact February.
Cool. 2021 is notable for having the 2020 Tokyo Olympics held in that year. God, nothing happened in 2020. I can't even begin to think of anything. I mean, technically,
be careful there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say for the purposes of not being caught out by the technicality that the COVID-19 virus did technically originate or was initially discovered in 2019. I will say that the 2020 was notable for the global pandemic, but even though it did carry on through to 2021, but maybe another one could be. No, I think saying the pandemic was in 2020 isn't wrong. I think that is the year that is the notable event of that year. Even though it started obviously slightly before 2020 and carried on to, well, now technically in some form, that was the year that the main brunt of the COVID-19 pandemic was.
That's fair. I'm not going to argue with you on that. For my list, just because I like to be specific, I put U.S. COVID lockdown. Because
I was thinking I could do the first UK lockdown because there were four in the end. Actually, I'll lock in specifically the first UK lockdown if I'm just so I don't get a max lead.
Yeah.
2019 is interesting. 2019. What happened in 2019? It feels like such a distant year now. 2019 is The New Abnormal by The Strokes. Oh no, was that 2020? I think that was 2020 actually, that album. Other albums. That's the only one that I know the date of for sure. Because I used to think it was 2019. It turned out it came out in 2020. So I can't say that one. Notable deaths of 2019. Movies that came out in 2019. Did anything happen in 2019?
No, we just skipped it.
I feel like I had something and it's gone now. It's an irritating game. I don't know if you've ever played catfishing.net.
No, what is that?
You have to guess the title of a Wikipedia article from its tags.
Oh.
It is one of the most frustrating because there is sometimes where one that caught me out recently was like dreidel, and I was like, I know what it is. I know it's a thing. It's a part of Jewish tradition. I did this for school, and you could show one to me and you could tell me what it is, and I would have a mental image of it, sort of thing. But right now in this moment, I can't summon the word for it.
Yeah, that does sound.
But it's a similar thing where it's like, if on any given day,
you're like, I was there in 2019. I'm sure some stuff probably happened. Like if you Googled what happened in 2019, you would immediately see 10 things that you would be like, oh yeah, I remember that. But just being forced to summon it is like, you really you saved yourself with that album. I was impressed with that random.
Yeah, because I always think that album's 2019 and it isn't. Movies is hard because I don't really think about movie release dates in the past few years. They've all just kind of happened. A movie will just kind of spawn in now.
Yeah, see,
That's way too early for Super. Oh yeah, it's way too early for that movie. TV shows, video games of 2019. Oh no, that might be for 2017 though.
I do feel like I might have had an advantage because I also around the time that I thought of this idea, or maybe it was after. I'm not exactly sure on the timeline, but I went through and tried to pick what my favorite movie and favorite video game for each year, like that was released in that year. So I made like lists. So I had them in like the back of my mind for a while. So I avoided testing myself until like a random and a certain amount of time had passed and like a random like day where I felt like my mind was empty and just sat down and tried to do it.
The most irritating thing is over the past couple months, I've kept saying things like, "Oh, I can't believe that happened in 2018. That was 8 years ago or 7 years ago now. I can't believe that happened in 2019. That was 6 years ago, etc." And I just can't think of them.
You didn't know. You were like, I can't believe that happened in 2018. I wonder what this weird quiz Skaz got going is.
Yeah. 2019. Oh, this is horrible. This is like torture. CIA advanced interrogation technique.
Well, I don't want to.
I think I've guaranteed I'm gonna. This is a good party game though.
Yeah. I don't want to make people mad that I'm helping you, but
I think people understand in the interest of time.
Yes. I will say you already mentioned what I wrote for mine on both of the times that I've done this.
I already mentioned it for 2019.
But I got nothing for you on 2023. That's your
my burden to carry.
Cross to bear.
Yeah. The issue is it implies I remember what I say. 2019.
Well, it was mentioned while you were talking about the previous.
Oh, about 2020. What, like the discovery of the COVID-19 virus? Because that is true.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's it. I mean, that's technically.
Sometimes that's all you need. 2018 was the. Oh, okay. 2018 was the Russian World Cup because the English football team almost did not play in it or didn't play in it. There was something about boycotting Russia. I remember.
So how often is the World Cup?
Every 4 years.
Oh, interesting.
But I would say that is notable because there was arguments, there was uncertainty about the English football team playing after there was a separate, there was the Salisbury nerve agent thing, which I don't remember the year of, but I remember the year that the like backlash to that event happened. Which was about the English football team boycotting the 2018 World Cup.
Yes, you are correct. Russia 2018 World Cup.
2017? The release of the Nintendo Switch?
That's a good one. That's actually what I put for the first time I did it. I should mention, the first time I went through this, I dated it November 11th, 2023 at 2 a.m. And then I also did this morning with a blank sheet, and it got much less far.
Yeah.
But yes, Nintendo Switch 2017.
2016, a lot happened. but I will say the death of George Michael.
Not what I thought you were about to go with.
I thought, I had to pick one, to pick something that happened. I remember when people used to say that 2016 was the worst year ever for some reason. Oh, right. It's the other thing that happened in 2016. But no, yeah, I
Christmas Day.
Yeah, pretty rough way to go. Buried in Highgate Cemetery. 2015. Let's go. I'll go release of City Skylines. Why not? I feel like it's uncharacteristic of me. I think they had their 10-year anniversary this year.
Uncharacteristic of you.
Sorry, I meant characteristic of me.
Yeah, that is your characteristic.
2014. 2014 annexation of Crimea. I think that's only in my head because I mentioned the Ukraine war.
Yeah, that's well thought of though.
2013. If I could just think of things that happened 10 years before 2023, then I can work backwards.
Or maybe you can work the other way. If you can think of something that happened in 2013, you can be like,
there was a notable event. 2013.
Oh yeah, the 10-year anniversary
of 2013. I remember where I was on the 10-year anniversary of 2013. Maybe we get bad luck with years ending in 3.
It's the 10-year anniversary of 2003.
I have thought of something for 2003, but I don't think there wasn't like a exciting like memorial thing.
Yeah. No, I mean, I should also clarify. It has to be something that you know about. Like, you can't just say like, well, there was probably a ceremony for the 50th anniversary of Pearl Harbor or something. It's like, it's because then you could look that up and be like, oh look, there was.
See, I knew it the whole time. So yeah.
Yeah, it's not like it has to be like a notable thing that you remember.
Now I think CS:GO was 20. Again, it's a weird, awkward year where loads of notable stuff happened either side of it. But as for things that happened in it, 2013. Sorry, pens decided to break on me. 2013 is an interesting one. 2013.
You just can't do years ending in 3.
Yeah, no. I mean, I do have something for 2003. How old was I? I was 9. Crazy things happened when I was... Because again, I feel like I've mentioned recently... like in 2023, I was like, oh, isn't it crazy that happened 10 years ago?
Mm-hmm. That is a good strategy to get unstuck in this. I've observed is that if I can't think of anything specific for that year, sometimes I think back to like what was I doing, like what year in school was I, and like what like songs came out that I remember, like
2013 I was 9, 2013 was 12 years ago. 2019 I was 9, it was 12 years ago. 2019, no, that's not true. 2013 that's 9.
I will say like being 9 is maybe like harder to remember than.
Yeah, I was in. That would have been I was in year 2013. I would have been in year 3. I really wish I followed Eurovision as a young as.
Oh yeah, so how often is that?
That's annually. So if you know if you've got notable Eurovision knowledge.
Yeah, that could really break this game if you're someone who's like a passionate like you know,
or like
you
the
follow
chess championships.
Yeah, or like you follow football and you're like, oh, I know who won the Super Bowl every year.
Oh yeah,
but that's the thing is like you have to know who one.
Or where it was set, but
you can't just be like, well, Eurovision happened. That's similar to like an election, I suppose, where it's like, yeah, it's like, they happen on certain dates, but you have to actually say. It's interesting that the U.S. presidential election and the Summer Olympics and leap years are all synced up, and then apparently I'm learning that the World Cup is synced up with the midterms and with the Winter Olympics.
Yes, I think that's fair. I don't know.
It's
if
a shame if it was.
Sorry, yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say if they alternated, that you could have a World Cup, Winter Olympics, presidential election, Summer Olympics.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Have all the years covered, because they're all at once every 4 years. But
yeah, so I did joke that. Yeah, because at the beginning I was like, I don't know my World Cups well enough to alternate World Cups and Summer Olympics with random tidbits in between.
Yeah. But you were saying you think that they're synced with the Winter Olympics on purpose?
I think they're off. They deliberately. I've never confirmed this, but it would make sense that you desync the two biggest sporting events in the world by a year. Because America's hosting both 26 and 28, which is crazy, actually.
Yeah, I didn't realize we were hosting. I just found out somewhat recently. I was like, oh, that's that's crazy. Been a while.
2013. Do I go for a Hail Mary and just name a kids movie that might have come out in 2013? Because I feel reasonably confident on the next couple years. Before 2013. I'm just trying to think of like Bolt, Astro Boy, the well, hopefully the 2013 animated one. I'm trying to think of some other stuff, but yeah.
I won't say what I guessed, but I will say my first crack at this, I made it all the way up to 2013 and then lost on a wrong guess.
Can't even use, because Pope Francis is 2012.
On my attempt this morning, I failed miserably because I did some math wrong and got my 2022 incorrect.
Wait, 2023. The for some reason the Sonic the Hedgehog movies come to mind, but now I'm trying to remember. No.
So interestingly, if you can get your 2013 correct, you can beat my my first attempt, assuming you get your 2023 correct.
I hope it's something that gives me a free 2023 as well.
Yeah, because if you can't get your 2023, then actually my failure of an attempt this morning actually beats you, because
you got something of 2023.
Yeah, I failed on 22. So. I like where your head's at, though.
It's fun. This is great. This is a excellent brain teaser. It's so annoying because
you can see why I had this in mind for New Year's as well.
Yeah, definitely. I do have something lined up for stuff afterwards. Maybe. So my thing for 2003 was the burning. Oh yeah, it was the burning down of Brighton Pier. That would have been a misspeak that would have lost me the game. I think that's correct. If that's not correct, then but that's why I feel like that wasn't celebrated 2 decades consecutively.
I don't fully know what that is, and I will have to look it up to confirm whether or not it's correct. But
I don't know.
You're a long ways off from 2003. Do you want to make a guess at 2013, or do you want to skip 2013 and try and fill in 2012 to 2003?
I might just go for my Hail Mary, which I thought of, and I might just say it for the sake of saying it. Oh wait, no, I think I must have been younger when that movie came out. You know what? Yeah, screw it. I'll say the animated movie Bolt came out 2013.
Locking that in.
This is a blind guess.
Incorrect.
Was I close?
It was 2008.
Oh, it was way earlier. It was.
It's funny though, because my failed attempt on 2013
oh wait.
was
Yeah, sorry, yeah, go on.
How to Train Your Dragon 2.
Oh, 2.
Yeah, because I thought for some reason I was like, that feels right, but that was also incorrect.
I was between. Can you check Big Hero 6 for me? That was probably way later than I'm thinking.
How to Train Your Dragon 2 was 2014, so I was off by 1 year. Okay. Big Hero 6.
I think that's way later than I was thinking.
It was also 2014.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the things, like, it came out when I was younger. Like, there's so many random animated movies came out in that 5-year span. That's why it was a Hail Mary, is
So you want to take a stab at something for 2023, or just concede that you slept through that year?
2023.
So if you could get that, you could time my...
Did Baldur's Gate 3 come out in 2023?
You locking that in?
I think I'll lock that in. I'm not sure of that. Was that 2024? I have a feeling it is 2024.
Let's see if I can misspell Baldur's Gate. That did come out in 2023.
Oh.
Yep. Baldur's Gate 3.
CS:GO was 2012. Nope, that's
that
too far.
Yeah, that's quite funny actually. We've tied on our first attempts.
So for posterity, I'll say 2012 was going to be the London Olympics.
That's what I put on my first one as well.
2011 was going to be Portal 2. 2010 would have been the general election where David Cameron, for the coalition of the Conservatives and the Liberal Democrats, won.
I put David Tennant regenerates.
That's that's a good one. 2009. It's probably gonna be I don't know. Maybe the movie 9 came out. That would be a funny coincidence, but I don't think that's. What happened when I was 5? 2008 was going to be the financial crisis, for the mortgage bubble popping. I feel bad for 2001 because as soon as you told me the premise, I already knew what I was going to say. But I think 2009 would have caught me out because I would have guessed another random kids movie. I remember
the movie 9.
I actually might. 9's
because
way that. Actually, I'm gonna double check. I've lost.
That is what. Yeah, that is what I put on my first attempt was the movie 9, and it is correct.
Oh my god, it is okay. That I would have. Never mind. I would have been fine.
Oh, I was holding it in there when you said that. I was.
I would have. I think I would have guessed 9 for the joke, and because I knew it's around that time. There you go. There's a few Tim Burtons around. I already almost made a faux pas. Coraline is not a Tim Burton. As opposed to what I was like gaslit into thinking as a child. But no, that's a good game. I think I'm gonna take that to my more nerdier friends that don't love me enough to listen to this podcast. I think it would be really interesting to give this to people who are either really politically aware or really like medially aware, because they'll be able to list a movie from every year or something, or a song.
Yeah. I think, I think people that are like very into one thing as well might have an advantage of like.
Oh yeah, if like sports,
if it's, I guess it has to be like an event based
And-
thing, but like sports people. Yeah.
because I think you could get very far with Olympics, World Cups. I think cricket. One of the cricket tournaments is on an odd number of years as well, the Cricket World Cup, and then I know rugby sevens for fun, Six Nations. It's very confusing.
But also like Eurovision, or if you were like really into Survivor, and you have been watching
Love Island.
Yeah, and you could like remember like who won in what years and stuff. Yeah.
But that's good. I need to that Baldur's Gate 3 was like a long shot. Like back of my mind, I remember people talking about this game a lot.
Yeah. My on my original run, I was doing it in 2023. So I actually didn't have. So technically your run is longer than this run because I didn't have a 2025.
That's true, you didn't.
I put 2024. I put election presumably.
Business as usual.
But it hadn't happened yet, so that one's kind of a cheat.
Yeah, for all you know.
But
Democracy
for 2023 I put Nimona, the movie, because I think I had probably just watched it shortly before.
Yeah.
But for the one I did this morning, I put Guardians of the Galaxy 3 because I remembered that. That year.
Yeah, that did come out that year. I'm not trying to think. Like 2007, I probably would have said Portal.
Oh,
Just
I said
Portal.
iPhone for both of those.
Oh yeah, 2006.
I got nothing.
2005. It's going to go to quite a grim place, but there was a quite a large scale terrorist attack in London that year. 2006.
I didn't put anything for it this morning because I didn't make it that far. But on my older one, I did guess that Revenge of the Sith came out that year, but that was
yeah.
That was incorrect.
Guess.
Yeah, but it felt close.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of like some movie that would have come out when I was that age. 2006 or game. Oh, maybe like the Half-Life episodes. But this would be a good. I'm gonna give this to a few friends, and then I'm gonna come back to you in a couple months and see what I come up with.
Yeah. Let me know.
I think it's a good. I think this is also a really good game after people have had a few drinks, because that will either reveal who's the most like locked in about like events that have happened.
Yeah.
Or how good people are at guessing things.
Yeah. And if you get too good at it, then you gotta go to hard mode where you go month by month.
Month by month, I think I might try. After this, maybe that's what I'll do this summer. I'll just do that.
Maybe that's what we should do in December. We should see if we can remember it. I honestly couldn't. I don't even know if I could get to May. It'd be like January. Trump gets sworn in. February.
December was the 2024 Christmas.
February is the 3-year anniversary of Ukraine. I don't know.
Yeah. I think also playing this game listing different anniversaries is amusing, especially if you get back to the year and you list a different anniversary of something. That might be an even funner hard mode where you have to list an anniversary of something.
Yeah, I mean it's anniversaries are like birthdays. It doesn't really count.
Yeah, but
the exception...
like a notably celebrate. Like,
yeah,
this year was also the 80th anniversary of VE Day, which was widely celebrated.
Yeah.
So
I feel like there has to be like a tangible thing attached to it, though. Like if, like I don't know,
yeah, or like there was
if you can
100...
like say like someone gave a speech or like I a lot of I've noticed a lot of mine are Doctor Who centric, but like obviously like the 50th anniversary special, you could say like
that was a good episode.
Yeah, they like released an episode, but you can't just be like, well, the 51 years ago they started the show.
Yeah, as it was 2013 when Barack Obama addressed the House of Commons and was the first president to do so. That was around that time. That was another thing.
2012 he was elected for a second term. 2013 maybe.
Yeah, I was
maybe
thinking
that could have saved us instead of us both guessing different animated movies that didn't come out that year.
Yeah. But no, cool.
Yeah. For 2005, I had on my original one I had YouTube launched.
Oh yeah.
But on my one from this morning, I had Doctor Who came back.
Yep.
In 2004, we obviously have Wobbles.
Yep.
Birth of Wobbles.
2002.
But also Facebook was founded, apparently, according to Past Me.
2004 I was going to go Half-Life 2 probably. 2002 I'm not sure. 2000 I actually would have gone that it's notable for not having a leap day because it was a multiple of 400.
I feel like that almost counts. I specifically said at the beginning of this, you can't just say it's a leap year or whatever. But that's rare enough that I didn't necessarily want them to be like for you to be able to solve it by math.
Right, yeah. But like because you can't use that one again until 1600, and unless you're like ridiculously cracked at that game, you're not going to be able to use that one.
Yeah, and if you're back in time sufficiently to where days weren't being used or like that rule wasn't developed, then I don't feel it's fair to call it. You can't retroactively be like, oh, they didn't have a leap day. If at the time they would have been like, what are you talking about?
You're not gonna. I can't believe I made it to 75 million years ago. But yeah, no, that was good. Now should we move on to our general discussion?
Oh yeah, we're doing a podcast. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we're not just listing events.
I could list events all day.
I could, yeah.
I have a pretty good trick for 2001 through 2003, although you had 2001 locked in already.
Yeah. Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And then you've got a good one at 97. Production begins. I didn't know I found out they filmed them in one year.
Yeah.
98 to 99 they filmed them.
You're gonna fly everyone out to New Zealand. You want to make the most of it.
Yeah. I mean then they did like random pickup shots in between years. But
sure.
Oh, that's a good if you want a good Wikipedia article to
Did they start production in 97? Is that what you were saying?
I think so. It's around then.
That's crazy. I didn't know that they started that far back. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, there's a good Wikipedia article. It's one of those, get comfy, get a nice drink.
I should read that because I also didn't have anything for 97. Could not.
I was gonna say OK Computer, but that's 98, isn't it?
I don't know.
There
was no world in which we were making it back that far. So.
I wonder if it says on my copy.
On my original attempt, I put Amazon founded ? On 98, and I have marked that as incorrect. So that's where my head was at.
I mean, OK Computer is listed on my CD as 97. So that was crazy. I would have guessed 98 and got that horribly wrong, despite it being on my desk.
It's interesting. You went straight for Portal when you got back that far. In Portal 2,
It's
times
yeah.
went with Skyrim for
Oh
11.
yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
I was thinking about like the 11, 11, 11 thing.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I was between like Minecraft. Oh, 2009 development of Minecraft began. Well, actually, that's not true. But the first public build of Minecraft was released 2009. Which I literally did think of, and I forgot. I've been guessed 9. But no, that's a good fun game. I'm gonna try that in a couple months. I mean, that's the other thing is like you can't really. You have to give it some time.
Yeah.
Between attempts, but I'll bring this up. This is gonna be a good.
You gotta like
conversation
surprise
starter.
yourself with it later.
Yeah. Put it like write like the rules of the game on a bit of paper and put it in a box. When I move out in a year, I'll surprise myself. But yes, but that was the game.
Yes.
Let us know how you did, Minters. I would be fascinated to know how some people got. And
Yeah.
why.
Did anyone make it further back than 2014? Because if so, you win.
Yeah. But yeah, that's very cool. Now to our topics. Wanted to get to last time.
Yeah, I believe these are all things you added to the document last time that we didn't get to. So if you want to run through them.
Yeah. So Katy Perry was in space.
Yeah, that happened.
That did happen. Blue Origin sent off one of their other celebrity missions that they've done a few of now. Blue Origin, yeah, that's interesting. That's yeah, no, that happened. It's interesting.
I'm gonna say that one felt like more timely.
Yeah.
Probably
I think
when you added this.
it's interesting. With all this, they've changed the definition of astronaut to be a more like professional position, more than just like someone that happens to be in space now.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
like NASA changed it, or
I think so. I think they've now adopted a more rigorous, because before obviously there's no way you could get into space without this training being assumed. But now like space tourists are a thing.
Right.
But that's interesting.
People
that happened with
sensitive about people calling themselves astronauts.
Yeah. By like paying enough money instead of working for it.
Yeah. I don't have strong opinions on that, but I'm also not an astronaut, so.
Yeah, it's mostly just interesting. I think who else did it? Is it the guy that played
William Shatner?
William Shatner.
Yeah. Played Captain Kirk.
Yeah, Captain Kirk. I did not want to get the character wrong.
The guy who played Spock.
The guys, I can't believe it's Captain Picard. It's that reminds me of a good
He was on that show Star Wars.
Yeah. The one with all the star gates. Yeah. But yes, it did happen with him. And he said it was miserable and he didn't like it and that we shouldn't do it. Which is
really?
Yeah, he really like obviously enjoyed the trip, but he like upon looking back on the Earth, like had like a existential crisis about it. I've not read anything about Katy Perry's response to it. I only knew that like just about the reaction to it from the media. I didn't actually hear her side of it. I know I did see lots of photos and whatnot.
Yeah, I think I saw some clips. It felt like they were trying to make it like grander than it was, I guess. Is the main takeaway I had.
After William Shatner and Richard, the what's his name? The Virgin guy. the Virgin, the company, the conglomerate Virgin. That wasn't just
sure.
Richard. Oh, I forgot his name. Anyway, he was also notably another billionaire. He was building. His company's building a space plane, and he was also one of the first people to. Like,
didn't Bezos go up with them too?
I think so. I think they had a little buddy sesh. But he was the first like untrained person to go a certain altitude or go a certain speed or something. But it's been happening for a while where like rich people have just been paying to go to space, which, to be fair, has kind of been predicted for ages. Space tourism's kind of been on the back
Yeah.
burner because it's getting to a point where you can just pay enough and it's safe enough.
But I
They
guess
let you pay
that's where like the I think the main like reaction that people had was stemming from the, I guess, the conflict between this is rich people taking a vacation versus, or like paying a lot to do a thing versus like this is some like great achievement for humanity. Because like traditionally, like space launches and stuff, people are seeing it as like, wow, that's crazy that science allows us to do this, or like, oh, we put a human all the way up on the moon.
Yeah.
Like, who would ever thought that was possible?
There is,
and so especially like this launch, which I've got to say, like, I think a substantial amount of the reaction online to this was pretty sexist, like, or at least like being like amplified by people that had, because as you said, like Shatner went up and people were just kind of like, oh, that's cool, that's
the space guy went to space.
The space guy went to space, and then like they launch one that has like all women in it and everyone loses their mind. But I do feel like it's hit a point. So obviously like that's terrible. But I do think that there is like maybe an essence of genuine criticism in there, which is, I think, the conflict of rich people doing rich people things, being portrayed as in a way that is like, isn't this a great step for humanity? Isn't this a great achievement? Like, wow, it's crazy that women can do rich people things too. Isn't that great? It's like, because I think that's and maybe that's where like the people being like word police about astronauts ties in as well, where like, I don't know, if Katy Perry took a bunch of women on a vacation to the Bahamas, like no one would, well, I mean, like some people would probably still care, like paparazzi or whatever, but like for the most part, like no one would care. But if she went to the Bahamas and then like all of the media was surrounding her and she gave a speech about how this was a great step forward for women, and for like humankind, that like, I'm a rich person who's going to spend money is, I mean,
and especially like when you have like you have women like Valentina Tereshkova, the first woman in space, and that's like that is a crazy achievement.
That's more.
Well. It kind of feels like it overshadows the actual achievement of the women that have put in the hard effort.
Of like actually training to be an astronaut and like doing science and
it's because it's a big, it's, you dedicate your entire life to being an astronaut.
Because it's like you have to be like a combination scientist and like test pilot.
And also like you have to be quite physically fit as well. It's a mix of athlete, pilot, and scientist. I mean, generally, to be a test pilot, you got to be like pretty physically fit, anyways. But it's like, so to take the actual history and like the achievements, and I don't think that their goal necessarily was to like belittle it, but it's just it just feels like this is something different. This is this is tourism in the same way that like, and I think association to it does over like almost not undermine it, but it does, it kind of is unintentionally overshadowing like actual achievement for women in that field, I think.
I could see that.
I think
feeling that
it's not Katy Perry trying to screw over women in STEM.
No,
that's it. It's gonna be on the Sun tomorrow.
I suspect it was like mostly a promotional thing. I don't really know like the details, but she's got like presumably a tour or an album.
I think it was linked to an album promotion, probably.
Yeah.
Musicians are the way they are.
Right. Who knows?
But I don't. Yeah, I don't. I don't think it then deserved the backlash of being like that openly sexist. And as well, didn't she have like a very like over the top astronaut suit? I think it was a pink glittery astronaut space suit.
That sounds plausible. I have no idea.
I remember it being showy in some way that people were like, "Oh, like that's not really the issue with it." Like, if I paid money to go to space, like I'd probably want I'd want to look nice as well.
Custom, yeah. Get your favorite color scheme, whatever.
Yeah. I feel like that's not crazy. Considering you spent like thousands. I don't know how much the tickets cost. They're quite expensive. Are they auctioned? I think they're auctioned, aren't they?
Yeah, that's where I feel like some of the reaction was just kind of sexist or just like
misguided
negative to be.
Yeah.
Because there's like, I don't know.
But
there is criticism to be had in the way that both the people and like the company, especially, I think, tried to make it into a grander event than it really was. Because obviously they want the publicity of like, wow, look how cool it is to go to space. Don't you want to go to space, rich person? Pay us money.
Yeah.
Invest in our company.
Yeah, I don't know how long it will be till Snoop Dogg does it. I think he's the next celebrity I'm predicting is doing it.
You think so?
He's the most, because he goes to like the Game Awards and stuff. Like he's like friends with like Kojima and like into like nerdy stuff openly. But it's also like fairly eccentric.
To record an album entirely in space.
Yeah, maybe he'll make it like maybe the first person to smoke weed in space. That'd be I don't know, weird to promote a new album or something. But no, I think it'll be interesting to see which celebrity stands up to the podium next to spend a lot of money.
Yeah, I'm sure someone will. I feel like there might be like a hesitation for a lot of people though now that like, oh, it's actually gonna be like bad publicity. Yeah. Which is maybe unfair, because like I said, like if these same people like all took like a ridiculously luxurious trip to the Bahamas, like no one would pay attention to it.
Yeah.
No,
I get it. Yeah.
But I also don't know exactly the numbers of like how much does it cost an individual to get on a trip like this.
I think
I think the company's intentionally a little bit vague on that. But
and I think it is auctioned, so it's not like a fixed price either. I think it is all like a rough raffle sort of thing. I think it's like the price isn't fixed either way.
Yeah.
But no, that was interesting.
Yeah.
Also, just caught me by surprise because I didn't even register it happened. I just saw lots of photos of Katy Perry, and I thought she was just doing like wearing a spacesuit for a new album or something, and people were like, because it was not because of the comments she was getting. I thought it was just regular sexism. And then I like I was like paid attention. I was like, wait, she did what? Hence the question mark in the notes. I didn't realize until way later.
There's like a sci-fi twist to this new album coming out. Must be, and then at some point you realize, wait, no, God, she went to space.
These Black Mirror promotions are getting ridiculous.
Yeah,
they did. Actually...
It is funny too that like even like the footage of her like floating around and her hair going in all directions. It's like they do that effect for like movies all the time, like. Or even for like a music video, it wouldn't be too absurd these days to just be like, so
put you in a wind tunnel,
you know?
Yeah. But no, it was interesting with Black Mirror promoting their new season by making Curry's PC World a bit like Micro Center, like a electronics, or like smart electronics retailer. have them advertise a fake product for Black Mirror. I thought that was interesting.
Oh, I have not heard anything about this. I also don't know. Did you say Curry's PC World?
Yeah. Curry's with an E.
What is that?
They're like an electronics retailer. They sell TVs and fridges and computers.
Oh, okay.
They're kind of like a all-round electronics goods. I mean, predominantly like computers.
Cool. Never heard of it, but
they're fairly big in the UK.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's weird because they were used to advertise for Black Mirror, where like they had the device that you plug into your brain, and it's like VR sort of thing. But it was just weird that they did that, and I thought it was another interesting blurring of lines as well, where it was like a well-established company kind of like it was clear it was fake, but like not clear enough because it was fairly like disarming when they were like, "Oh, buy the new thingy," and then like they plug it onto some employee's head and he like becomes brainwashed, and you're like, "Oh, what? why is there an episode of Black Mirror playing?" I mean, it was on their socials as well. Like it wasn't like a major TV broadcast, which is why I think that they got away with it. I think if it was on like national television, like they'd get letters from Ofcom to be like,
"Oh, it was a thing they were doing on social media." It wasn't like, or was it actually a thing in the shops? Like if you went to,
I don't know actually. I've not been in a. I don't think so. I think it.
Okay, the way you described it at first, I thought you were saying that this was like a product they had there. I was like, that sounds questionable.
No, yeah, they just like had footage of them like, "Oh, try this new like in the way like they do not their adverts normally."
I see.
I just felt it did feel like disarming, being like, this is I feel like real life companies promoting TV shows feels weird, like feels like a weird overreach of like company trust. But like, I mean, at the same time, I guess it's like the technology is like obviously fake.
Is it?
Like, I mean, it depends. Maybe in a few. I mean,
this is the issue I think with Black Mirror is that like.
Though
I mean, I haven't watched any of the recent seasons. To be fair, I'm not going to comment on like if the show is good or not.
Yeah.
But I do think that like a number of the episodes like involve technology that feels very. I think it was intended to be like near future, but depending on the episode, like some of it just feels like just like commentary on like actual technology that's being developed, and it feels like we're catching up, I guess, in a way to the show.
Yeah, I get what
you
mean.
So it's like
it does feel like a post Neuralink technology sort of thing.
Like there was an episode a few seasons back about like someone dying, and someone built an AI based on like the person's social feeds or social posts, and then creates like a chat bot where you can talk to like the dead person, and it feels like that's totally something that could be done today with like an LLM in someone's like Discord account, you know.
I mean, say the most recent episode or an episode of the most recent season was about this memory like eulogy service that read your thoughts out, was able to like read your thoughts and then broadcast them back to you as like AI like enhanced images. So you'd be like, or like, so you look at a photo, like the guy looked at a photo of him and this person, and like then like he looked up and he was in like a void, and he like walked forward, was in like a 3D rendered version of the space sort of thing, but done with AI. And it was like that was interesting. It was quite far fetched, but it was like still like I feel like the AI part isn't though. Like I could see something being like, oh, it takes like a collage of photos and makes an AI version, like a AI generated version of someone for VR for you to interact with. The technology is like,
it's just like guessing what's on the other side of the
Yeah, well, yeah, because
The
one of
2D
the plot
image.
points of the episode was that he couldn't remember the person's face for whatever reason, and he kept trying to find old photos, and all of them were obscured and whatnot. But it's a very good episode. I feel like, but again, yeah, there was a similar thing with that's a technology, maybe not to the extent of like reading your thoughts of an AI-ifying them back to you, but like having you relive like old photos by like making a AI world for you to explore based on photos you've taken, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I know that's kind of the. I mean, we're gonna people be like, that's the point of Black Mirror, but it just feels like when the show started, this was projecting into the near future, and now it feels like yeah, just like technology is catching up to the show, and pretty soon it's the show is just gonna be like, I don't know, just. It feels like more. I guess some of the episodes feel like more on the nose with stuff too, where it's like it's not as yeah, I don't know.
Oh, and Bandersnatch is no longer available. So
the interactive one on Netflix is not.
It's gone now. I think
they've playable.
They've shut down all their interactive things, which is a shame. I did it. Bandersnatch was on my things to do eventually. But I've been told by people who played it was very good. So,
oh, you never did it. That one, I think I actually did mess around with a little bit.
Because it came out when I wasn't very interested in, or just hadn't watched much Black Mirror and didn't really have a motivation to. But now I've watched a little bit, and I like the concept. But I think it's gone now off Netflix.
They take away all their interactive.
I think I know they've been taking away some of their interactive game stuff for a while, like Minecraft Story Mode. I mean, that was more to do with Telltale going under. But I think it's probably something. But it's it's not unlike Netflix to dump a bunch of money into a bunch of projects and then remove them when they stop being profitable if they don't make a return. But doing it like, is it Bandersnatch was like 2018? Oh.
I'll have to look into that. It doesn't seem like it would really cost anything to keep it up. I mean, essentially, it's just a long video that you can like press a button and it skips around. Like this is like DVD game technology.
Yeah, I was wondering if it could be pirated, like how easily it could be pirated. And I was like, well, fairly, right? Even if it's a bunch of disparate. You can throw something together in like HTML5, like throw something together on a web page that does it for you. Even you don't need a particularly like complicated,
right? Which raises the question why bring it down in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. Or like how old YouTubers used to do, or Markiplier's non-linear or similar multiple ending stories he's done on YouTube, and that's been a thing for years. That's been a thing since the early years of YouTube, of people using the interlinking video system to make. Yeah,
it used to be like the annotations.
Yeah, so many of those broke. There's a very good one. One of my favorite ones is Wheezy Waiters. He did quite a lot, to be fair, but one of his like big ones is now playable.
I didn't really know about Wheezy Waiter until like somewhat more recently. Like, certainly wasn't aware of him when the old YouTube annotations were a thing.
Yeah, he did. He's had a renaissance recently, just because he started doing like the I quit X for a month and like studied like relationships and like changed his content up quite a bit. But he always did quite diverse content. It was just that one he would just occasionally do a multi-video choose your own adventure story every like, I don't know. I think I tried to make some when I was younger, but I'm glad I never got past the ideas phase and have those out and about.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do that over the summer. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, you
might see.
You want to make a choose your own adventure. We could always throw it together and make like a HTML5 game.
Yeah.
Make like browser games a thing again.
Maybe we'll make Homestuck too. I have like
Oh, is there Homestuck follow-up?
not
Did you,
particularly. I just kind of have started it. It's nothing crazy. So, as in, I have opened it and read the first bit and be like, oh, this is something I could read more of.
Yeah, I've opened it and I've read the first page. I haven't flipped to the second page yet,
but I like what I'm seeing. No, again, it was I started and then it was like, oh wait, I've got like responsibilities to tend to. I probably shouldn't start a new thing. But again, now I've got loads. This might be the summer of Homestuck. But speaking of literature,
well, you're stuck home.
Well, exactly. But yes, while on the topic of literature.
Yes.
This is long gone now. This is like decades ago in terms of the speed of the internet. But briefly, for a long weekend, I'd say, like Friday to Monday, there was a very brief eruption on Twitter of this forever war on Europa. And essentially, it followed this. A bunch of people kind of started getting... I think... So I've kind of gotten a better picture of this. There was this guy, or this person, I'm unsure of who they are specifically, but they have a... they're a writer, and they did start writing and publishing bits of things they had about this, like, future dystopian war on the Galilean moon of Europa, the ice moon of Jupiter. And basically a bunch of people at once went, that's really cool, let me add my own little tidbit to the story. And then basically hundreds of people all across Twitter were like writing up little excerpts like, oh, on my third tour. And then people in the comments being like, oh yeah, I remember during the fourth polar trench run of the Ninth Crusade, I lost some good buddies. And like it was interesting. It was quite dark. It was quite gritty, and it was just it just came as it went. It like was spontaneous and was fascinating, and it's inspired a bunch of ideas for me, which is an issue as a DM is when you get ideas for other things you'd rather be running, but you haven't wrapped up the last thing. So I've already started planning this like other thing based on Europa. But it was fascinating. It was such an interesting thing to watch happen.
That sounds really cool. Yeah.
So
I've missed this entirely because I'm not really on Twitter.
This is a bit impromptu as my I have a friend that's not on Twitter that I sent him a bunch of examples, but I'll send them over to you now so you can have a little read.
Sure. Yeah.
Of them.
It sounds like an interesting like writing exercise, but yeah, I definitely feel like I'd have to see the original post or see like just some examples to understand more what the details are, or if everyone's kind of adding their own details to.
Yeah, so it was interesting. So like initially, the main writer did have a bunch of like world lore already laid out, but it was, well, I think it was also simple enough of a concept that a lot of people like picked it up. So like one of the more interesting concepts that kind of stuck throughout was this concept of warmies, and it was kind of diluted and changed as these sorts of things are. But it was like the main concept was someone that was like optimistic that the war would end, and they were called a warmie because they're on a nice planet and everyone's kind of used to the cold. But it's people that have hope of a life outside of freezing to death on a planet that doesn't care about you, etc.
A warmies.
A warmie. And it was kind of like
I thought you said warbies.
Warbies. Yeah,
I was like, the war.
Weebles
the
wobble
bees.
And they don't fall down. There's some examples. I took like a lot more screenshots at the time. I can read out a few of these.
He asked me to shoot him. He said he wanted to feel warmth one last time before he went. I told him to close his eyes. Yeah, that's I see where the gritty, edgy writing
Yeah, and but I kind of like loved it. Like it because it was just so out of nowhere, and kind of so, I don't know. I think it was the perfect storm where a bunch of like-minded people ran away with a cool concept. Let me try find the original. I do follow them on Twitter now, actually, as a.
Oh no, this person's dropship missed Europa completely.
It happens. It happens.
In the gravity well now.
One of my favorite like fake anecdotes was that for fun they would like overshoot their artillery cannons, so they just whiz around the orbit. I just thought that was a funny thing. I think it was like a railgun, so like the round would then like explode, but it would make a nice noise. Oh god, Twitter is so unusable now. There we go. Twitter user or X user at lolT64 was the person who started this whole thing.
Oh, I like the detail on like the bone density.
Yeah, I thought
this person's adding to it.
Yeah, like the Venetian, the person from Venus would have a different bone density, so they handled the heavy weapons.
They had actual gravity. Yeah.
And yeah, it's kind of got my own mind thinking about the sci-fi setting I've kind of worked on.
Yeah.
And it was just a cool little thing. But that was just an interesting. It was such a weird thing, and I was tempted to get involved. I didn't in the end. Or maybe I did. I don't remember. It was a while ago now. I know I've had ideas. I just don't remember if I posted them or if they're in my drafts. I'll put the Twitter user in the show notes, just so if people are interested in the originate in the
somehow the Europa war guy.
yeah. But yeah, no, that was that, and I thought that was such a fun little
moment
on the internet. Since then, I have deleted Twitter. Well, no, since then I deleted Twitter for my exams, and I've now reinstalled Twitter, and it's like long gone. No mention of it, ever since. But it was cool whilst it lasted. It's crazy that was only like a month and a half ago. But yeah, that was just a cool thing that happened. I thought I'd talk about it. It was a very interesting.
Yeah.
It was just a cool moment of like collaboration and.
Yeah.
You don't really
I want to see people doing creative stuff. That sounds fun.
Yeah, it was a nice little like creative writing exercise, and that was like the main takeaway. Is people were like, yeah, it's cringe, but like it's a fun joint creative writing task.
Yeah.
It ran into issues because some people tried to be like glorify it, where the point is that like it's horrible and it's miserable and like it's not heroic or glamorous. The whole point.
I could see people taking it in different directions. Yeah.
Yeah, and that kind of does ruin the vibe. Like there was one person which was like, oh, it's a shame I hacked into the Dyson sphere to relocate all the sun mirrors at Europa. Everyone's like, why would you... What? What? Oh, that was so good. Oh, there was just a lot of people being
that's beyond just like not getting that the war is bad is the theme here, and taking it to like that's more of like a like when you're playing a game with a kid who is like, yes, but my superpower is to win the game and be better than you in every way, and actually you suck.
Yeah,
that
is what they thought. Like that is literally like like I remember this always happening where like in those sorts of games you'd play, or like you'd pretend to shoot someone and you'd be like, oh, I got you. And they'd be like, no, I dodged it.
Yeah, it's not a yes and, it's just like a, no, I win.
Yeah. That was the issue, is that like it ruined the yes anding. Because as well with like a forever war that's miserable, it felt like everyone has a role to play, and like no one really was like, no one's better than anyone, even though there's like obviously the military structure. the whole
Yeah.
point is that everyone's kind of on the same, other than the technocrats back on Earth
Yeah.
making money from it, which is again is the point is
You're
that like the people behind, like the reason behind the war and the people behind it are never also explicitly mentioned. It's just that
right.
we fought for no reason forever.
But like your contribution to this like collective storytelling probably shouldn't drastically change the setting that everyone is like playing in.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
or
Like,
trying to end it, just being like, oh, I have the winning one.
yeah, but I do think like
and-
with these sorts of things, like I didn't encounter this, but like I have been like aware of people like drawing fan art and like different interpretations of like I remember like the podcast Welcome to Night Vale
Yes.
back in the day. A lot of artists would draw like the characters from that, and even though it was just like audio only, like obviously people just sort of developed certain like accepted
Yeah. Like,
details that like a lot of people would reuse.
Yeah.
And so I think in like community things like that where if one person like does something radically different and other people aren't on board with it, it's easy enough to just kind of ignore it. Where it's like, yeah, I'm sure there were definitely people posting that were like, the glories of war, or like posting like, I've rescued everyone by doing this thing. But I'm sure for like most of the people, it's just easy enough to like just not like that post and just continue posting as if, because it's not like I don't know, it's not like you're playing D&D and it's like, well, your character did a thing, so that is like
Yeah.
has happened now.
Yeah. And that is that I've had to learning how to.
You're
navigate
welcome to
that
like
in,
pick and choose like what what tweets you like find interesting, and which ones
internalize it as canon and in your. And that is a fun thing, is the fact that loads of people have their own stories in their heads, and then they just so happen to have an overlapping like slice of their worlds briefly get to be the same.
Mm-hmm. But then you could find something like the guy talking about the bone density and like people being raised in space and being like Gugon or whatever. It's like if you found that interesting, then you could like incorporate like that term in to your post. But if you didn't, then you could just ignore it. Like, it's fine.
Yeah, but I thought it was interesting. I've incorporated an element into my world where like the ultimate solution to the main driving force is that the war has to keep going, for whatever reason. And I like, I've had that idea and I've like, that kind of feels like thematic, that like there's something else going on that the heroes need to fix, but it doesn't change the fact the war kind of
never ending.
Yeah, it kind of has to keep going for the best, like the least terrible thing happening. And obviously I tied mine. Well, I tied mine into the fact like there's like a water shortage on Earth, so everyone's fighting over the water supply as well. I thought that was like a kind of the first obvious idea that came to mind. That they're mining these chunks of ice and shipping them back to be processed into water, and like for cooling systems for as in like there's just because it's a water moon. It's currently being so there's those elements that I've come up with myself that aren't explicitly mentioned, but I'm sure people have their own interpretations of. It would be interested if there is just a purely territorial goal, like there's just two different groups that want to control the galaxy or the solar system for the sake of it as well. I can see that being a very interesting take, that like we're literally fighting over this like cold dead rock for the sake of fighting over it.
It feels very red versus blue.
Yeah, exactly.
Know what that is?
Yeah, exactly. But no,
the resources make sense, like the ice mining. Yeah, it feels like more like that's like gives you some like good imagery as well.
Yeah, definitely. But no, that was
Yeah, sorry, I feel like I cut you off. You were gonna say something about D&D earlier.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. It has been interesting as well since playing D&D, having to navigate humoring people's yes-anding and also like telling a good story for everyone. Because
yeah,
everyone in their head has
yeah.
a really good idea of how they want the story to go. You've got really good idea of how you want the story to go, but it's working on a compromise. But I think the best way is when the players compromise with each other the story they want to be a part of, and you're able to just pick up on that and tell it, and
Mm,
you can use your
yeah.
story as a launching point, which is the main thing I've tried to do with my DMing is set up a very basic frame. Like there's I've never done like a drop them in a world to figure out. They've always had a goal, like an overhanging goal. But how they achieve it, I've always tried to not to let them figure it out between themselves, and then do my best to describe it. Um,
Mm. Yeah, that sounds fun.
but I have never had someone that's like, oh, my character would turn on his flying powers that I have to the boss in it,
Yeah,
and then snap my fingers with my infinite kill power and kill him.
yeah. Hopefully, by the time they get to actually playing D&D, it's like you kind of know that you have limited abilities, and
Which I think is the nicest thing about, because as well when I've had like players that min max, it's very easy to corner them, but in a way that they need to rely on each other's strengths and weaknesses to get out, and
yeah,
like that we've had like my DM from Moon has been very good, where we've had a lot of, like, as a rogue I'm very skills based, but mixing it with our paladin that was just pure just strength and was slightly min maxed, where we would have mixed encounters where we would probably try to reason and like skillfully work it out, and then we'd be like, yeah, the door's not budging, and just get the paladin to just run at it. But we had enough of that balance that obviously there wasn't like one person at the table doing everything and then everyone else twiddling their thumbs. And I've tried to
yeah,
capture that as well,
yeah.
where
That's good.
everyone feels involved in every puzzle and every situation. That like this, I didn't make the solution around one character. I made it around a combination of the character's skills.
Mm,
But
smart.
yeah, I think that's just made me think of that as well, with people being like, "Oh, I'm the winner."
Yeah, yeah. It's. I guess early on, like as a kid, basically, playing any kind of like role playing game is. I always remember having to like explain like and be clear that with people that like, okay, if I'm the one that's like running the game, like the DM, then you only get to control your character. You don't get to like control what's happening in the world.
Yeah,
So like, yeah, like I think most people, especially these days, I would hope, like, I'm kind of through the process of like learning what D&D is, and like maybe listening to a podcast or something where people play it, and then like going like, oh, I want to play that, and then like building a character, and it's like you kind of get the sense of like how it works. But yeah, I don't know, definitely, um yeah, could see some people just being like, well, I want this to happen in the world. And
yeah, or like I know a normal pitfall for earlier players is reading a spell and then assuming what it does, and then being like, oh, I cast fireball. Does he die instantly? It's like, well, we know we need to figure out if he saved, and if he saved, if does
oh, I see, not like reading the what it actually does.
yeah, just being like, oh, I reckon I can mage hand him into believing me. It's like, that's not it's not what mage hand does.
Yeah.
But no, it is interesting. That is it was just a very interesting project that kind of sprung up. I used to kind of DM around like there being a right way of doing things, and I realized that's kind of dumb for a game like D&D. Or not to fair, I wouldn't do, but like I would go in thinking, but when my players would do it, and I'd just be, when my players would do it in a different way, I'd just be completely unprepared. But now I've gotten better to expect the unexpected and be like, just get ready for some crazy solution to this problem. I'm just rolling with it and having to make up a guard in a room and like have to come up with a layout of a building you never even intended to.
Yeah, that's good to be able to improvise some of that stuff.
Like there was a time that I was like showing like the Tyrant King doing like a like public execution, and one of my characters decided to like intervene, and I was like, oh, I was not anticipating that, and then I had to quickly like think of a way of getting the.
It's been.
Sorry, yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say it's been so long since I've like seriously DM'd anything. Like I used to just like with my brother and our friend play, and I feel like in those days I would like improvise like 90% of the stuff.
There was one time I did a fight, and after the fight, basically it's like this mix of like machine and like demon creature that the main baddies have been making, but it came from so like I set it up that they went into this crystal mine, and in the bottom of the crystal mine there was this large like chamber, and essentially the chamber was this massive like crystalline like egg like shape thing with like a silhouette of a thing. And I was like, oh, you approach it and it cracks open. Anyway, they do the boss fight, but afterwards I described that, oh, there's like a hole in the ground, like a quite gross, but like a sphincter that it's clear that you put together, oh, that's where the egg like came from. And then one of my characters was like, they then had like a 20-minute, because I thought they'd be like, oh, that's neat, that's where it's come from, let's go. They then decided to have, they then had a 10-minute discussion about what's down there, obviously the DM want them to go down there to find the cool stuff. So as they were discussing it, I'd quickly had to like, I literally opened Pinterest to find a monster that would be suitable for what they would find down there. Think of the saves of climbing down a cloaca, and figure out the lore implications of like what would be down there, and like this like what it would actually mean for the story. Whilst they were all discussing it and doing because then throughout the mine I'd been like giving them wisdom saves, because it's like the crystals are unstable and like can hypnotize you, and we're making them attack each other and like lose their minds. But what happened was, I had like a good time. I had planned like a cave-in sequence where they'd kill the big monster. They'd be like, okay, we should start leaving, and then the walls would shake. So they start walking out of this big cave, and I go, oh, the walls start shaking, and they're like, oh, this is a sign that we're meant to go back. And I was like, I thought they would be like, oh, the walls are shaking, we gotta get out, let's forget about whatever's back there. So because they did that, I was like, all right. I picked a random person. I went, okay, can you make a wisdom save? They failed a wisdom save, and I went, you now have a complete and entire obsession with entering the hole. And like it was like, fine, you've made me do the work of making this, I'm gonna shove you to it now. Because there was the one person that was debating it was like, fine, I'll go in, and they were like, oh wow, I can't believe you planned all that. And I was like, nope, I planned for you to leave and you guys to be on to like the next quest half an hour ago.
See, to me it sounds like your party is too concerned about like the meta thoughts of like what the DM is trying to get them to do. There was a lot of the time they're like, oh, well, you know, I know I'm a player in a game, but I'm like, why wouldn't you just do what your character did? Because a lot of the times they're like, oh, I would just leave this situation, and I'm like, I have planned you guys trying to leave the situation. You're like, I wanted you to leave the situation. Now, exactly. But now like, that you guys have created a new situation by not leaving the situation, I have to plan something else. Yeah, but no, like I have planned a lot and hinted, because they're like, oh well, it's obvious that the quest is that we're meant to stay in this place, and I was like, well, I don't really care what the quest is. It's what you guys want to do. But I have made a series of different plot reasons why leaving would be difficult, but like they haven't explored them. They just know that they're meant to be there, like they haven't tried leaving yet. Maybe your character has like a personal motivation for like trying to do the quest.
And yeah, one of them does. One of them does. One of them is there like to his like one of my players like character's main like MO is that he's just bored and this is the most interesting thing that's going on at the minute. So why would he leave? Like he's like the fact that something
That's fair. That's easy enough to play. It's like
he's playing like a ranger that just kind of dawdles about and like finds things to do, and this is just a fun thing to do at the minute, and it's better than doing like it's dangerous and they've almost died loads, but like otherwise he'd just be like I don't know, like Snufkin, like fishing.
Yeah, that's nice though, because then you have the one party member that's like probably down to go along with anything.
So basing a ranger off of Snufkin would be quite fun. From
off of who?
From Snufkin from Moomins. I was going to mention.
You're just making up words now.
I was going to mention Moomins this episode, but I thought not. The white things. Snufkin's the one in the. I thought you'd be in the know.
Oh, this thing.
Snufkin's the one in the green hat in the middle.
I see. I've seen pictures of this character.
Snufkin's like just a chill guy that like just wanders around and fishes and helps people when they have problems.
Sure. Sounds like a good guy. I feel like early on, or depending on how you want to play it, like a certain kind of person is into playing D&D in a way that like sort of maximizes. This was a thought I had tying back to what we were talking about earlier about being the bestest, coolest, strongest player character, but I think a certain kind of person like really enjoys the game aspect of D&D, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And like figuring out like how to best allocate your stats and like what spells to take and how to use them best, or whatever it is, depending on the class and the character, the build, and that is valid. But I do think there is something fun about playing into like the limitations of a character.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I think like being too concerned with what like the DM is trying to do or not trying to do, and also like being too concerned with like, well, my this attack is statistically better in this scenario than that attack, so I'm going to do this.
Yeah,
I think it can be fun sometimes to just have a character that just does things sometimes just as because that's what the character's feeling at that moment.
Yeah, I did have. It was interesting. I was on a table with a min-maxer and a character player. The character player played a gunslinging artificer, and the min-maxer played a divination wizard. Where there's a reason Silvery Barbs was banned from our games.
Silvery Barbs.
You can divination spell. You can re-roll. You can force a re-roll, but as in they roll a third dice, and you always take the lowest. So even if they've rolled with an advantage, you roll a third dice and take the lowest of the three, which is a bit gross. Which, I mean, it's fine, but it's just because it was the only thing that was anyway.
Yeah, I could see that getting abused.
Anyway, the artificer, like, bless him, he didn't hit many of his shots because he made a lot of shots, but because he was an artificer, he didn't have any like plus like proficiency or like plus to hit bonuses on weapons or anything. And when he did take spells, he would take spells that like his character would be personally interested in learning, not like that like particularly interesting spells or like particularly powerful spells, more interesting spells.
Yeah, not like this is the best combat spell I can get at this level, whatever.
But like what is in like combats, we would try our best to like focus down people, like worry about what's it called, action economy, because so like hit the person with the lowest health, because we'd be keeping track of how much damage we'd done to each person. Which again, yeah, but like he would be like, oh no, this guy just hit me, so I'm gonna shoot him. And my friend would be like, no, why would you shoot? Like, just shoot, because it's all gonna be the same amount of damage in the end, and you're still gonna get hit just as much, because you're not gonna kill this guy in one shot, etc. But it's like, well, no, my character would attack the person closest to them.
Right. And kind of mediating that conflict for the players of like, but they're like, allowed to control their character. You can't force them to be
combat
efficient.
Yeah. Which I'm now playing a cleric. Like, I was playing a rogue before, and it's like, do I stab them, or do I shoot them, or do I hide? Or in what order do I do those actions? But now I'm playing a cleric, and I got a bit of a hard time because I'd never played a caster, and I'd be like, oh, let me do this spell because this seems fun. And my friend would be like, oh, I can't believe you didn't do this spell. This would have helped us out. And it's like, oh, I didn't read like what all of my spells did. Well, I did read what all my spells did when I picked them, but I don't have them like memorized. I have a better idea now.
Right, you're just
at first I was
trying
like,
out being a cleric for the first time.
It's like, I'm not used to holding like 15 spells and like the economy of working out my spell slots, and maybe I want to save this spell slot so this spell later, and remembering the damage types for every spell so that I could figure out, this enemy's plant based, let me use blight, or etc. That did happen, and that really pissed off the DM. Or actually there was like a undead guy, and I decided, screw it, this guy seems like a big deal. I did like a really high level Word of Radiance, correct me if I'm wrong, someone. And I crit at 3rd level, so that's like, I think it's like 10d6. Crit with 10d6, and the guy had a weakness to Radiant, so I did like 180 damage in a turn. Something ridiculous like that. Like the most damage I think I've ever done in one single attack. And he was that killed him instantly.
There's nothing left.
For the rest of that session, the DM had it out for me. I can't imagine why. But that was a funny accident, though. I was just like, nah, but I like to imagine, my cleric just like locked in.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, it's. I did redeem myself with that one, gambling on a really powerful spell, because then we were able to long rest immediately, so I didn't mind wasting the spell slot.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it didn't come back to bite you.
Yeah. Other when the DM did try to kill me, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not saying like, oh yes, being inefficient is always superior. I just think like,
yeah, because it's a game at the end of the day.
To like what you were saying about like different characters having different classes having different skill sets and stuff. It's like sometimes it's fun to lean into those and
I think
allow your character to have
that
weaknesses as well.
Yeah. And that is the nice thing with min-maxes, is that they normally do have quite big weaknesses, but like the sort of person to min-max isn't the sort of person that wants D&D to be easy. They just like finding fun solutions to problems. So if you give them a difficult problem, they're going to probably find the most interesting solution.
Yeah, that's fair. And
that's normally what I've happened, is that like there will be someone whose skill set is really specified one way, and they try to leverage it in situations where it feels unlikely, but it ends up working just because they decide to think outside the box. So really push themselves to think how their like one very good ability this did once culminate. There was a mix of me, the wizard, the paladin, and the artificer were like trying to figure out how to distract this potion seller. I think we were just trying to steal a potion that was going to cure someone, but they wanted like a ridiculous price for it. They wanted like my friend's artifact that like was like a treasured thing that he refused to get rid of. So I needed it was quite good, to be fair, because I was like, okay, so the wizard was going to cast minor illusion to show that the potion was still there. I was going to do sleight of hand. The paladin and the artificer were going to like pretend to nerd out. Oh no, the artificer was going to pretend to nerd out about like magical objects, because that's what the person like specified in. And then the paladin was just going to like do something. But like we'd worked it all out, and then I rolled, and I got a nat 20, and like everyone else's rolls weren't really well, because I think they rolled to see how well they distract them, to see if I get advantage or not. I think that was how the DM did it, which was quite nice. But I got a nat 20, and then he was like, all right, describe what happens. And we all, in our, like, described all different parts that we would do to come together to have this, like, perfect heist. And that was just because we all got to use a different part of our skill set to... we all got to use a different part of our skill set to solve the problem.
That is fun.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that was... I'm excited to try run my Europa Ice War thing over maybe in the next couple months. I'll see if my friends from home are interested in it.
Turning the Forever War on Europa into a
I was thinking running it as a
role-playing game.
As a tabletop game would be good. I think debating what system to run it in still, but I was thinking it'd be good because they weren't going to play as soldiers. They were going to play as like researchers that were trying to get information to a research base, because it's like of dire importance. I think I'd like they'd be with one soldier, like one character could be a soldier, like a soldier, the rest could be whatever they pick, but I'd give them a reason not to be newbies, and the other would be experienced, because I think that does always add interesting element.
Yeah, that can be fun, especially if the
and trying to do it where maybe
the player has a little extra information or something.
Yeah, it's like if the person
perhaps
picks it beforehand, I can like let them know some information about the world that the others might not know. That would be good for them to know.
Yeah, good for some immersion.
Yeah.
Well, that's probably it. I think we'll have to pick up this game section next time.
Yes, yeah. I think that's fair. That's fine. Eventually we'll talk about some games.
I'm sure eventually we'll talk about something on this podcast.
That's true. Something will happen.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Hope we get some feedback on that.
I'm excited
quiz.
To hear back about the game, the challenge.
The challenge.
I think most novel thing that I wouldn't have thought to put for a year wins something. They'll get a thumbs up emoji on the Discord. There you go. It's all to play for.
Oh, not the Wobbles Award.
Depends how good it is.
It has to be really good.
If I'm like, but don't make something up and expect me not to look it up.
Yeah, no cheating.
The 5th Bam Blambo War that happened.
Someone's like, I made it back to year 0. Trust me, I knew all of these things off the top of my head.
Yep, no looking. That gets tricky when there's like just things in the historical record that just don't have a date. We just know that they happened within like a 10-year window.
Yeah.
What's the earliest we can say something happened? That's
what's the furthest back we could get in this game? Open book.
That's right. Yeah, like what's the furthest back you can say something happened on a definite year?
Yeah.
I think that's an interesting like follow-up puzzle.
Yeah, we'll have to figure that one out next time.
Maybe I'll do some.
That's the entire podcast. We're just counting backwards on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
All right. Till next time.
Till next time.